Welcome back to Brashenomics. The day after, well, there's big news everywhere. In fact, big news in sports even, which, I have to hit on a little football here. The Seahawks ended up with a beast mode, making the Pro Bowl, a couple other guys, and even, Heather's actually in Hawaii at the Pro Bowl, so maybe she'll encounter Mr. Marshawn Lynch or Brandon Brown or Cam Chancellor, any of those guys. Earl Thomas, I think, is there. I mean, that's a lot of guys going to the Pro Bowl from the Seahawks. A lot of people have to, and when you get to that level of competition, or really that level in anything, you really have to put your head down and work as hard as you can to try to accomplish that goal, whether it's first making the NFL, and then going to the Pro Bowl. Well, the same can really be said if your goal is to buy a house. You have to put your head down and find the information that's going to be most pertinent to you and your purchase. Bob Papke joins us. Now, after Bob entered real estate, he quickly became John L. Scott Sandwich's #1 selling agent before buying the RE/MAX franchise. Welcome back, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, you're a football fan. I'm sure you're excited about all the guys going to Hawaii. Heather, who knows if she'll meet them. Hopefully we'll get some autographs back here.
It's quite the hotel. I've been there. Quite the hotel.
But people who are out looking at houses, they have choices to make, and they have to make sure that choice is right for them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's taken them a long time to get to that point, too. What you're seeing over the course of the last couple of years is buyers are taking more and more time before they finally pull the trigger. So what used to be maybe a 9 or 12 week type of deal now could be almost an 18-month type of decision before they finally tune out all the media and say, you know what, it's right for me to buy a house. Let's go do it. So they have to start somewhere. And once they make that decision, then they've got to sort out what kind of home they're going to buy. And they've got some choices. They've got tons of choices. They've got, anything from the standard listings to short sales, foreclosures, bank owned.
And these aren't even types of houses. This is a condo, house, townhome. I mean, this is what process do I want to be subject to?
Sure. And they're deciphering from the media what it's saying and what direction they should go. But when it boils down to it depends on their situation, I tell them. Someone comes to me and says, listen, I've been reading about short sales. Got to buy a short sale or a bank owned or a foreclosure. I say, good. Okay. It sounds like you've done some homework. Let me understand your situation first. Do you own a home currently or are you renting? If they own their home currently, all right, they're probably not a good candidate for a short sale or a bank owned because the bank doesn't want to deal with those people because they can't turn on a dime. They've got to sell their house first. But if they're renters, now they could be potentially a short sale or a bank owned client. Then the next question I ask, are you ready for a roller coaster ride? Because this is going to be a ride.
Which is the perfect question.
It is. And they go, what do you mean? I said, you're going to get jerked around. You're going to get tossed and turned. You could get a nice value when this is all said and done, but just understand something. This is not a normal transaction. And if you're looking for answers right away, you're not going to get them. And if you have to be in a house in the next 30 to 45 days, this is not your option.
Well, and the other side of that, talk about the roller coaster is the amount of competition. Everybody and their mother thinks, oh, I'm going to go buy a short sale because it's a good deal. I'm going to go buy a foreclosure. And the great deals, I mean, they're not out there as much as they were. I mean, it's still needle in the haystack stuff, right?
It is. You got to sort through them. You got to understand what the situation is on the short sale, how deep they are into it. The other thing that people don't understand about it is, the lenders are not going to help you out. So in a typical transaction, you're going to go into a negotiation. You're going to come up with a price. You're going to do an inspection, and then you're going to negotiate some modifications. Maybe the roof's got to be taken care of, or siding has to be taken care of, or whatnot. And the seller has to address those needs. Well, on a short sale or a bank owned or a foreclosure, all bets are off. The bank's not spending any more money. They're already out a lot of money, so they're not going to spend any money. So if you're going down that path, you also have to have some reserves in order to do some of that work that the house is going to need. But again, I'll get back. You can get a tremendous value again if you know what you're doing and if you want to pursue it in this fashion.
And is that one of the biggest? I mean, the value is obviously what people are going for. Mm-hmm. People are thinking, I want to get a good house for a low price, and as you mentioned, they read this in the paper or online. That's the information they gather. This is where you get the good deals. The cons is probably really the process, right? It's stomaching the process. Is that, I mean, because we see it on the mortgage side.
Sure.
Where it's, oh yeah, we're so excited the seller accepted our offer on a short sale. Mm-hmm. And 6 months later, they're still in the condo, the apartment.
Sure. Sure. It is the process. It is the process. And that's why, I do some qualification of the buyer to see if they have the stomach for it. If they've got the stomach for it, then it's absolutely a way to take a look at and pursue.
And that's probably even, I would imagine good business on your part, because if somebody doesn't like the process, yet you're taking them through, you're dragging them through the mud, right? And,
sure.
Making them do these things they weren't sure that they were going to have to do. That's tough for your business.
It is tough because I've lost a number of buyers in this process because when they don't get the house, when the lender comes back at a different price and they can't come to some kind of an agreement here, who are they going to blame? They're not going to blame the lender. They're going to blame me because I for somehow a reason I didn't put the two and two together. So that's why I have to do some education and counseling up front to make sure they're ready to go. And
what about with first-time home buyers? That's a big part of the market now.
Sure. It's a big part of the market, and it's a good part of the market. The houses are out there. They're priced really, really well right now, and the inventory's starting to build. So what we saw in November and December was the houses that were on the market in the summer started dropping prices, and those first-time buyers came into the market in November and December and snapped up some really nice deals. There's still some good deals going on that are still carryover from last year, and new houses are coming on the market as well. So the first-time home buyer, with obviously the interest rate that they can get, if they can get an FHA at 3.5% down instead of the 10 or 20% down, and then they've got these houses that they can choose that are, priced ridiculously low, it's a great time to buy.
What's your recommendation then to people? If they're, let's say they're, if they're a buyer, how do you come to a recommendation? It's tough to give everybody a recommendation.
Of whether to buy or not? Or
no,
what?
Just on if they should pursue a short sale or not. You kind of hit on it, but
right.
If we could just go a little bit deeper on what maybe people who are listening should be thinking about, hey, should I really go do this?
Well, I think what you got to do is what I do with my buyers right now is I say, I'll take a look for homes. You take a look for homes because you have a lot of the information I have. So at night in your pajamas, we hope they're looking for homes, and they get back to me with price points and areas. So they're looking at areas, they're looking at price points between, let's say, $275 and $350, and we pull up those homes, and we've got a little mixture of short sales, and we've got some mixture of just standard listings. And I make sure to disclose that. Here, let's go take a look at these 5 on Saturday. These 2 are regular standard listings, and these 3 are short sales. And we go take a look. And I let them decide. The house, they still have to get the right house. It's got to be the right place for them to then take the next step.
Do you find that the house kind of does the house become the caveat to the process they decide to go into?
Sure.
If it's the right house, but it's a short sale, and originally they're thinking, no way am I going through that. They could change their mind, I would think.
They can. They can talk themselves into a house. They can fall in love with a place and say, I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get this house. And so we go down that path. Here we go. And we pursue it.
Strap in.
Strap in, and here you go. But, it is. It's just a great time for them to step in and buy right now. It really is.
Where do you see the market? As far as these short sales, they keep coming on. People who want to sell, you actually had mentioned before, during break, that you're starting to see more listings.
Yep.
Is there going to be more inventory coming on? Are more people starting to sell? Is this a good time to find that mix of regular sales and short sales?
Yeah, what we're doing is we're just starting into the peak seasons. So the peak season really starts taking off in March, April, May, and June. June is our peak in terms of houses that are for sale. And you also have a number of buyers that are also ramping up at that time. So, there's going to be a lot more inventory and a lot more to choose from going forward. We had a number of people over the course of the last few years who were sitting on the sidelines and not ready to pull the trigger, and now they're saying, okay, I've waited 2 years, or I've waited 3 years, I've outgrown this house, I need to step up, it's time to make something happen.
Do you see there's a lot of pent-up demand then? Are people, are they ready?
I'd love to see more.
Right.
I'd love to see more demand, but they are ready. When the phone usually didn't ring until February 1st. And now in the last last year or so, and especially this month, that phone was ringing on January 2nd.
Well, Bob, we have about a minute left before we have to go to break. Again, we're here with Bob Papke with Remax Exemplary in Sammamish. And so, Bob, you talked a little bit about peak season. When the most listings come on, is there a reason people should be looking now and not waiting until that peak when the most houses are out there?
I think what you still have to, if you're looking for a house now, you're going to pick up some of that residual inventory that's left over from last year, and those people still need to sell. So there are some good values there, and then you also have some new people who are just coming on the market with some new homes, and you just got to pick and choose. Some of them are a little overzealous with their price because they're a little bullish and they want to get as much as they can, and you just have to sort through and find the true values.
And I mean, that becomes part of, in helping people make that choice. I would think in your job is, anybody can go find every house that's on the market.
Sure.
Or, most of them. You go online. So it's really becomes your job to help them make the right decision.
In terms of what to look for, you bet. We take
and when to start looking seriously, even.
Sure, and what they're needing to look at. Is this a move-in ready house, ready to go? You don't have to pump any money into it. All right. What is the cost per square foot, and how does it match up against the values of the neighborhood and things along those lines? I give them some information so that they all of a sudden now they're becoming part of the process and part of the decision making.
Well, Bob, thanks so much for joining us. Again, that's Bob Papke, owner, broker with Remax Exemplary in Sammamish, Washington. When we come back, we are going to chat. Actually, we're going to bring up more of this headline stuff. We're going to talk more about how headlines help people make decisions and maybe they're not getting enough information, and then what you can maybe do to help yourself make the right decisions. My name is Ben Brash, and that was Bob Papke. You're listening to Brashenomics.